Hello, welcome. My name is Melissa Gray. Thank you for being here, for tuning in to this winter yin practice. Before we start, I just want you to be prepared with any props that you might have. I know if you're practicing at home, you might not have everything you need, but um, we can accommodate and compromise a little bit. So if you have a bolster, 2 blocks, a strap, and a blanket, that would be ideal. Some alternatives, if not, I can offer these poses without the use of props. First of all, the strap is going to be kind of important. So if you could find a scarf or a necktie or a bathrobe belt or any other kind of belt, that would work just great. For the bolster and the blocks, if you've got any kind of pillow, might be nice to have. And then a blanket or a towel. And sometimes you can use that blanket or towel rolled up in place of the bolster. Okay. So again, I'll just offer different suggestions so that we can all access this practice. Okay. So once you have everything you need, we're going to start in a reclined butterfly. And so if you do not have props, you can just simply lay back on your mat, bringing the soles of the feet together and the knees open. If that feels like too much of a stretch so early in the practice, you could place blocks if you have them under your legs. Okay. Or if you have the blanket or a towel, and you can unfold it to a pretty long side where you can roll it up and make kind of a noodle out of it. This is one of my favorite props for this pose. So then as you bring the feet together, you just place the blanket roll over the top of the ankles and then cross it behind the ankles and pull it kind of snug, and then let the knees open, and it brings some support for your legs, and then lay back. If you have a bolster, you might want to lay back over the bolster. Okay. Lots of different options. So find something comfortable. And if you're on a bolster, hopefully your head is resting on that bolster as well, or you could bring a pillow under your head. And then just let your arms rest out by your sides and close your eyes. So tomorrow is winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. And these longer hours of darkness are Mother Nature's invitation to us to turn inward, to rest and reflect and restore before the return to light. And there's no better way to do this, to rest, restore, and relax than with a yin practice. And this ability to rest is supported by the kidneys. So we're going to work with the kidney organs today and the kidney meridian lines. Which is also related to the water elements. So with your eyes closed, resting in this darkness, take a few moments to reflect on the past year. Store away the beautiful moments and lessons. And then put the struggle and the challenges behind you. Release the negative energy, the stagnant energy, making room for what's to come. A chance to look ahead at the coming year, for a chance to heal, to unite, and to once again embrace our friends and family with open arms. Sometimes darkness gets a bad rap. The movies often depict darkness as the place where evil lurks. But if you think about it, pretty amazing things happen in the darkness. Ideas are born in the darkness within. We do our best healing when we sleep. Babies are born and conceived in the darkness of the womb. So welcome the darkness and all it has to offer. As we move through our practice today, remember to come into the poses safely, maybe not quite as deep as you would in a traditional yoga practice, knowing that we're going to be holding the poses a little longer. And set an intention to find stillness, to close your eyes often and go inward. Sometimes it's important to adjust our shape as we sit with it, and that's perfectly fine. We just want to try not to fidget. We want to remain present, connected to our bodies and our breath. And when the mind wanders, like it often does, we just want to acknowledge that and then return to the stillness and the breath and the present. Let's take 3 more deep breaths here. And then slowly roll onto one side. Move the props out of the way. And then come back onto your back with the knees bent. Make sure your strap is within reach. And then let's draw the left leg in towards the body. Interlace your hands behind the left thigh and do some ankle circles with that left foot. and then reverse the direction. And then take your strap, place it around the ball of that left foot, and then straighten the leg, bringing the thighs parallel to one another or in line with each other. So likely you're not stretching too much just yet. The leg is kind of low. If you feel a stretch, maybe take the leg a little lower. We're going to take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, you're going to come to that first point of stretch. So lifting the leg and stopping when you sense the muscles begin to tighten. And then extend the right leg out long on the mat. Pause here, breathe in. Exhale, we're going to go just a little deeper. As you inhale, maybe back out of it a little bit, let the muscles relax, and then exhale, go a little deeper. So the body's natural reaction to a stretch is to tighten up to protect itself. But it's difficult to stretch a tense muscle. So we work with the breath to invite ease into the pose, letting the body know that we're coming into the stretch safely. And we're using the arms and the strap to encourage our stretch a little deeper, but without force. Just guiding those toes towards the wall behind you. Whenever you feel the muscles tightening, just back out a little bit. And then return. And when you've gone as far as you can go, just relax and send your breath to most likely the hamstrings or where you're feeling this the most. Close the eyes. Let the shoulders relax on the mat. The face is soft. Now take both sides of the strap in your left hand. Rest your right hand on top of the right hip to help keep that hip grounded. And then let the left leg open out to the left. Still guiding the toes towards the wall behind you, but with the hip open. So the kidney meridian lines run along the front of the body and the inner thighs. So we'll be doing some forward folding and some hip stretches, some hip opening. The kidney's counter organ or yang organ is the bladder, the urinary bladder, and that runs along the back body. So we'll do a little bit of stretching in the back body as well. On your next inhale, bring the leg back to center. We'll switch hands with the strap. So grab a hold of both sides of the strap with your right hand. Take your left arm just out to the side in a T or cactus. And then just start to let that left leg come across the body as far as what feels comfortable to you. Sometimes it's nice to just go a little bit, and sometimes it feels better to go further over. And then turn those left toes down towards the floor for that inner rotation in the hip. Try to keep the left shoulder grounded. Noticing where you feel the stretch, how it feels in your body. With your next inhale, return to center. Take the strap in both hands again. And just as we did earlier, we're just going to guide those toes towards the wall behind you. Notice if it feels a little easier now. Maybe your leg feels a little more open. And then release the strap. Let that left leg extend out long on the mat next to the right. Just resting here for a moment or two. Noticing the difference from the left side to the right. I feel a little bit longer on my left side now. And then bend both knees, bringing the feet back to the mat. And then draw that right leg in towards your chest. Interlace your hands behind the right thigh. Hug that leg in close to your body and do some ankle circles with that right foot. And reverse the direction. Might hear some popping and cracking, getting into those joints. And then take your strap, place the strap around the ball of the right foot. And then extend the leg out long, bringing the thighs parallel. Again, unless that feels like too much of a stretch, you can start a little lower if you'd like. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, we're going to move deeper into this stretch. So come to that first point, pause, back out a little bit. And then as you exhale, just encourage the leg to move a little closer towards that wall behind you. We're backing out of it a little bit on the inhale, going deeper on the exhale. So again, just communicating with the body that we're moving into this stretch safely and slowly. Allowing the muscles to relax, to take in the stretch. Extend the left leg out long if you'd like. Try to keep the shoulders relaxed on the mat and the face soft. And take both sides of the strap in the right hand. Rest the left hand on top of the left hip to help keep that left hip grounded as you open the leg to the right. So again, you're gently guiding the toes towards the wall behind you, but with the hip opening. Being aware of the sensations in the body, the breath. And with your next inhale, bring the leg back to center. Switch hands with the strap. Extend the right arm out long in a T or in a cactus pose, and then let that right leg come across the body any amount. Still guiding the toes towards the wall behind you, feeling the stretch in the outer leg, turning the toes towards the floor. And then inhale back to center. Take the strap in both hands again, gently guiding the foot towards the wall behind you. Noticing if it feels different. Hopefully you feel a little more open, a little more stretched out. And then release the strap. Extend the right leg out long next to the left. Take a couple of moments to rest here. Hopefully feeling a little more balanced now that we've done both sides. Closing the eyes, inviting in that darkness, indulging in these moments of peace and stillness. And then reach the arms up overhead. We're going to come into banana asana. So reach for the opposite elbow if you can. If you can't reach, then opposite wrist will work. Okay. We're going to take the upper body and both feet to the left. So both shoulders and both hips stay grounded. We're just inviting that stretch into the right side body. If you'd like to go a little deeper, you could try crossing your right ankle over the left. And again, please make sure that both shoulders and both hips are grounded. We're not rolling onto the side body. We're completely flat on our backs. We're just arching the body to stretch the right side. And then again, close your eyes. Breathe into the right rib cage. Allowing the inhale to create more sensation in the stretch. And take 3 more deep breaths. And then slowly make your way back to center. And then we'll switch position of the arm. So bring the other arm on top. As you're ready, taking the upper body and both feet this time to the right. And again, if you want a deeper stretch, you can cross left ankle over right. Both shoulders and hips are grounded. You should be experiencing the stretch along the left side body. Close your eyes and focus the breath to the left rib cage. Allowing the inhale to deepen the stretch. And using the exhale as an opportunity to let go, to release. Releasing stagnant energy, experiences of the past that no longer serve us. Take 3 more full breaths. And then slowly return to center. And then draw the knees in towards your chest. Wrap your arms around your legs. Give yourself a big hug, a tight squeeze. And then roll to your right side. Use your arms to push yourself upright. You may need to shift on your mat a little bit, but we're going to bring that right shin parallel to the long edge of your mat with the right foot up against the left knee and the left foot back behind you. If you have a bolster, you can place it on your mat with the skinny part of the bolster up against your right hip. If you have a smallish bolster, you can use your blanket to make it a little thicker. So folding the blanket up into kind of almost a bolster, a long skinny fold. Okay, if you don't have these props, you can do this without. Okay, so we're just gonna twist gently to our right. Bring your hands to the mat underneath the shoulders. So if you've got a bolster, your hands will be straddling that bolster. And then if you don't have a prop, then from here, you're just gonna lower down onto your elbows so that the elbows are underneath the shoulders. And you'll pause there. If you have the bolster, then as you come around, you want to lower yourself down onto that bolster so that the sternum is centered on the bolster. And so sometimes it helps to really kind of reach the torso over to the right first, or even use your hands to gently push the right ribs over and then laying over the bolster again so that the sternum is centered, and then turning your head to rest on your right cheek. Just letting the arms rest comfortably wherever they are. If you're experiencing too much stretch through the outer hip, you could bring the knees together and that might feel a little more comfortable. If you want a little bit more, maybe walk the feet back. And again, if you're not using the props and you're just on your elbows, just rest here. Maybe you can even interlace your hands and bring your thumbs to the third eye to rest the head. So props or not, we're in a twist. Okay, once you find that place, settle into stillness. Close the eyes. Maybe sensing the water element, that soft fluid movement of the body as you breathe. The ebb and flow of the breath, the pulsation of the body. Noticing if the mind wanders, and bringing it back to stillness, back to present. Take 3 more deep breaths. And then slide the hands in underneath the shoulders. Use the hands to slowly push yourself back up, right? We're just going to shift around to face the front of your mat. Take the knees mat width apart. Just windshield wiper the knees side to side. And then when your knees come over to the left, we're going to shift our bodies to prepare to twist on the other side. So the left leg is now parallel with the long edge of your mat. The right foot is back behind you. If you're using the bolster, you've got the small edge of that bolster up against your left hip. Okay. If not, just bring your hands to the mat underneath your shoulders and then lower down onto your elbows. If you're using the prop, lay down on it, trying as best you can to center the sternum over the bolster. And then turn to rest on your left cheek. Close your eyes. Find your breath. Take 3 more full breaths. And then use the hands on the mat under your shoulders to push yourself back up. And we'll just turn again to face the front of the mat. Feet mat width apart. And windshield wiper your knees side to side. And from here, we're going to move into dragonfly or a wide-legged straddle. I'm going to turn sideways so that I'm facing you. You might want to turn sideways just so that you've got the padding of the mat underneath your heels. And if you can't get your heels and your bottom on the mat, sometimes it's nice to just slide that blanket or towel in underneath the sits bones, which also helps provide a little lift and allows us to tilt forward in the pelvis a little bit. Okay, so then legs nice and wide. And we're just gonna fold forward here. So we're gonna be all different kinds of depths. So some people can maybe only go this far. Some people can be flat out on their belly. So it doesn't matter how far you go. What matters is the stretch that you're experiencing. So you might feel it in the quads, the hamstrings, the inner thighs, the low back. You can use props here if you want to support you. If you're really tight through the low back and hamstrings, you can bring a bolster on its skinny edge and rest your forehead on the other end. Unless you're on a slippery floor, that can be tricky. You can stack blocks, or I kind of like to create a table here with my blocks and my bolster. Okay, so there's lots of things you can do to try to allow the upper body to rest on something. Okay, if you don't have the props or the flexibility to use props to come there, then don't worry about it. Just allow yourself to rest wherever you are. Okay, do your best with what you have. And then come back to that darkness. Close your eyes. Indulge in this opportunity to rest, reflect, and restore. Relax your jaws, soften the face, and just let the toes kind of softly turn out. No need to keep the legs or the feet engaged. This winter solstice is sort of a turning point from darkness to light, a pause in time. If we move too quickly through transitions such as this, we can get off kilter. So letting Mother Nature be our guide when she moves to darkness, so shall we. Take 3 more deep breaths. And then slowly set yourself back upright. Move any props aside. Bring your hands underneath the knees. Use your hands to scoop the knees up and bring the legs together. And give yourself a big hug. And inhale, sit up tall. Once again, walk your feet about mat width apart and windshield wiper your knees side to side. It's always a nice release in the hips. All right, from here, we're gonna come to pigeon pose or swan as we call it in Yin Yoga. I wanna show you a different variation first. Okay, if pigeon is difficult for you, if it's hard on your knees or your hips, you can do a pigeon pose from seated. So we'll start with the right leg out, left leg bent, and you'll just walk your right knee in towards the body, heart moving towards the feet. Okay, if you want to come into the full swan shape, you'll shift so that you're on the length of your mat. You want to try to bring this left shin kind of parallel to the top of your mat. But if that's uncomfortable, it's okay if it slides back in underneath you. I can't get parallel. Find your bud. Okay, you just want to make sure that you're flexing this left foot and then gaze back over your right shoulder. Make sure that that right leg is aligned with the midline of your mat. You can keep the toes tucked under or untuck them, whatever is more comfortable for you. And then take a moment to create length in the front body and then try to maintain that length as you fold forward. And then bring your head to rest on your stacked hands or a block or a bolster. And then again, just close your eyes. Reconnect with your breath, sending compassion and ease to the places that feel tight. Letting go of effort and just sinking in to the stretch. If you're in the seated version of this, you can try walking the hands back a little further and maybe bringing the hands as close together as possible to find that stretch in the shoulders. If that's too much, take the hands wider apart. Sometimes in Yin Yoga, as we hold the poses for a long time, it can get pretty uncomfortable. It's important to notice the difference between pain and discomfort. Discomfort is something we can fight through, and that's usually when the greatest transformation happens. But if it's a sharp pain, we'll want to make an adjustment so that we're no longer in pain. And sometimes the most discomfort of all is our mind. We get bored sitting in these poses. for a long time. And if that's happening, just focus on your breath, or perhaps invite a mantra into your practice to keep the mind busy. Inhaling, maybe repeating the word rest. Exhaling the word relax. Rest, relax. Take 3 more deep breaths. And then slowly use your hands to bring your torso back upright. We're going to shift onto that left hip. Sweep this right leg around, cross it over the left leg, bringing right foot, shift so you can see me, right foot close to the left hip and left foot close to the right hip. Okay. Shoelace. If that's awkward, you can extend the lower leg. And if you were in the seated pigeon, you just simply you have to bring your right leg over your left. Sitting up tall here. And then exhale, folding over the bent legs. And then inhale, sit up tall. Take your hands to the mat behind you. Unwrap the legs. Take them wide. Once again, windshield wiper the legs side to side. My favorite transition. Okay. And then shifting to the other side. So if you're doing the seated pigeon, you'll bring your right ankle to your left knee. Keeping the spine long, heart drawing forward, right foot flexed, hands behind you. Okay. If you're taking the full pigeon, you'll bring that right shin parallel to the top of the mat. Bring the left leg behind you. Okay. And that right foot might slip in underneath you a little bit more. That's fine. Gaze over your shoulder, back at that extended leg, and try to line that leg on the midline of your mat. Toes tucked under or flat, your choice. Take a moment here to create some length. Breathe in. And then exhale, slowly lower down, settling into your sleeping pigeon or swan. Let that Left hip drop closer to the floor. Let go of the effort and just settle in to this shape. Close your eyes, return to center. Connect with the movement of the breath. That subtle pulsation of the body as you inhale and exhale. And just constantly being aware of what comes up for you. If there's struggle, what can you do to soften that struggle? Where can you release? Where can you send your breath? And don't judge the struggle, embrace it. Be compassionate with yourself, patient. And take 3 more full breaths. And then bringing the hands to the mat, bringing the torso upright. We're going to shift onto that right hip. Sweep the left leg around in front, cross it over that right leg for our shoelace shape here. Option to extend the lower leg. And if you came from the seated pigeon, you'll bring that right leg to the mat in front, cross left leg over. Okay. All right. And then sit up tall, lengthen through the spine, and then exhale, just fold forward any amount. If you can stack your fists or arms to rest the head, great. If not, just let the head drop. Feel the stretch in the outer hips, stretch through the back body. getting into that bladder meridian, the urinary bladder. Bringing some balance to our practice. With your next inhale, sitting upright. Bring your hands to the mat behind you. Release the wrapping of the legs. Bring the feet mat width apart and windshield wiper the knees. Okay, from here, we'll come to our hands and knees. So coming to table, stacking your shoulders over your wrists and hips over the knees. Spread the fingers wide. We'll move through a few cat-cows here. So as you inhale, lift the gaze towards the ceiling, lift the tailbone, draw the shoulder blades back towards your hips. And then as you exhale, start to tuck the tailbone, draw navel to spine, arch the back body towards the sky, broaden the shoulders, tuck your chin. And then inhale, lift the tailbone, belly drops, heart opens, gaze lifts. And just do a couple more at your own pace. Bringing a little movement to the spine. Again, close your eyes, allowing yourself to go inward to really experience the movement of the spine, the sensation in the body. Good. And then inhale back to table, finding that neutral spine. From here, we're going to keep the hips stacked over the knees. Walk your hands far forward, letting the heart drop towards the floor. So coming into this Anahatasana, melting heart pose. So maybe your chin or your chest or your nose can rest on the floor. Try to relax through the shoulders. Let the heart feel heavy towards the floor. And then glue the elbows down and just shift forward, coming onto your belly for Sphinx pose. So elbows are directly underneath the shoulders. So they're kind of close to your body, okay? Arms, lower arms are parallel to each other. Legs are stretched out behind you. Inhale, draw the heart forward, lift the head and chest, draw the shoulders back. See if you can sense a stretch in the front body, the abdominals. Squeeze those low ribs in a touch. Keep your gaze down at the floor between your thumbs. If you'd like a deeper back bend, you can take the hands wide apart and lift the elbows. But if at any point you have any pain in the low back, you'll want to come back down, or maybe this is too much for your low back. If so, you can bring your elbows forward, interlace your hands, and just rest your chin in the interlaced hands. Or you can stack fists or bring a block underneath your head and come down a little lower. So again, just making sure that there's no pain in the low back. So this is one of the best poses for the kidney organs. There's a slight compression of the kidneys. We're stretching that front body, contracting the back body where the urinary bladder meridian lines run. Take 3 more full breaths. And then lower all the way down onto your belly. Stack your hands. Rest your forehead on your stacked hands. Bend your knees and windshield wiper your feet side to side. And then release the feet down. Slide your hands in underneath your shoulders. Inhale, push yourself up to table again. We'll move through a couple more rounds of cat-cow. Just to bring that movement back into the spine again. And then take your knees wide apart, big toes together. Bring your hips back to your heels for child's pose. So walk your hands out in front, rest your forehead on the mat, or if you've got a bolster, you could lay over the bolster. That might be comfortable. If you're on the bolster, you'll probably need to turn your head to one side. I'll let you know when we're about halfway through so you can turn the other way. Close your eyes again and focus your breathing into that low back. Might be a little tight after seal or sphinx pose we just did. If your head is turned to one side, go ahead and turn the other way. Take 3 more deep breaths. And if you're using props, you can set those aside. Bring your knees back in, hip width apart. Reach your hands way out in front of you, spread your fingers wide, and then lift the hips, tuck the toes under. We're gonna come into downward facing dog. So take a few moments to wiggle around, maybe shifting hips side to side or walking out the legs. And then come to stillness, grounding into the hands and the feet, finding that length in the spine, and then relaxing the head and neck. If you begin to struggle, ask yourself where the struggle comes from, how you can bring ease to the shape without coming out. But of course, if there's pain, come out. Always come out if there's pain. And take 3 more deep breaths here. And then take your gaze forward. Slowly start to walk your feet towards your hands. We'll come into dangling. So bringing hands to opposite elbow crease. Tucking the chin, letting your head be heavy. Knees can be bent a little or a lot, whatever feels right in your body. Try to let the weight be even through all 4 corners in the feet. Big toe mounds, little toe mounds, and either side of the heels. Draw the navel in, chest tucked. And again, just let the upper body drop heavily towards the floor. Close the eyes. Just letting all your worries and fears pour out of the crown of your head into the earth. Let the earth absorb your fears. That's an imbalance of the kidneys. That feeling of fear. A balanced kidney or an open kidney meridian lines will give you a little more willpower and determination. The ability to move forward to accomplish things with that restored energy. And then release the arms, let the arms hang heavy. And we'll just start to gently sway side to side, letting the arms swing a bit side to side. Maybe dragging the fingertips along the floor. And then come to center, heel toe your feet wide apart. Turn the toes out, heels in. And we're going to lower down into a squat. Coming down into Malasana with the elbows inside the knees. Now, for some of you, you might only be able to go this far, and that's fine. And if you have a block, you could even sit on your block. We won't stay in this pose for too long. Okay. If you can bring the hips all the way down to the heels, that's great. In either variation of this, the point is to find a little opening through the hips by pressing elbows into the knees, but then also finding that length in the spine and reaching up through the crown of the head. Let's take 3 breaths here. And then you can bring the hands to the mat behind you and bring the bottom down. And then we're going to come back onto our backs here. So lay back and hug the knees into your chest. Squeeze them in tight and just rock a bit side to side. As the knees rock to the left, take your gaze to the right. And as your knees rock right, gaze left. And then come to center. Take the knees wide towards your armpits. Bring your feet towards the ceiling. Grab a hold of the feet with your hands and just pull down on the feet to draw the knees closer to your armpits. And then you can start to rock side to side. And if it feels good, maybe stretching one or both legs. Happy baby. And then release the feet to the floor. We'll come into one final twist before Shavasana. So take your hips 2 inches to the right, cross your right knee over the left, arms extended out from the shoulders, and just drop the knees over to the left for a twist. Of course, you can take any different variation of this you'd like. Maybe you don't like to wrap the legs. Maybe you want to extend the right leg towards the hand. Just find what feels good and release into it. Closing the eyes. With your next inhale, slowly release from the twist, coming back to center. We'll take the hips a couple inches to the left, cross left knee over right, and drop your knees to the left. I'm sorry, to the right. Settling into this twist on the other side. And again, feel free to modify it. This is your twist, not mine. I'm just simply making suggestions. It's your practice. It's your body. Honor it with compassion and kindness. And with your next inhale, make your way back to center. Uncross the legs. Let's hug the knees into the chest one last time. Lift your head up towards your knees as if curling into a tight little ball. Squeeze everything really tight. And then inhale, release, and stretch out for Shavasana. You might first need to incorporate some props or cover yourself with a blanket or put a sweater on. So do whatever you need to do to allow yourself to completely surrender to Shavasana, this corpse pose. Taking up some space on the mat, turning your palms up towards the sky, closing the eyes. Completely relaxing. Feeling your body heavy. Spreading out like water. Sense the breath breathing you. Like waves of respiration, ebbing and flowing. Releasing into the flow of the moment. Take 3 more full breaths. Start to allow small movements back into the body, wiggling your fingers and toes, the hands and the feet. Reaching the arms up overhead, reaching long from fingertips to toe tips, walking out the hips. And then draw the knees into your chest and roll to one side in the fetal position. Take just a few more moments on your side, indulging in these last moments of stillness. And then keep your eyes closed as you move slowly and mindfully, making your way back to seated. We'll meet with our hands at heart center in Anjali Mudra. And we'll close our practice with the sound of Om. Let's take a deep breath in together. Om. You should feel well rested and restored and ready to take on the longer days, the return to light with renewed energy. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.